Hi, and welcome to Musicians Hangout with your host, Crash Fistpipe from Fatal Butterfly and Dissonant Chaos, and Maxine Maxwell from the Maxwells.
Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday.
Quarantine.
Happy quarantine. Yeah, like it's great to be back. Wow, it feels like we've never left. Oh, cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Oh, my God. Week 39 already.
So first of all, Maxine, I have to tell you, I love that little guitar.
Oh,
it is perfect.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, I
As
do.
soon as you showed it to me, I was like, that's our intro song right there.
Thanks.
And 39 weeks later, we're still going strong with it.
Yep. It's been here since week 1.
Right.
I did it to be funny, too, and it stuck, so.
It's perfect.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, and thanks for joining us tonight, you guys, for our new episode of Musicians Hangout.
Yes.
I will go over our mission statement, and then I'll have you guys introduce yourselves individually. Sound good?
Sure.
Okay, cool. All right, so Musicians Hangout mission statement is to be part of a revolution, to create friendships with other artists, and build a community network to save music. And man, do we need that now?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Oh my gosh. All right, so go ahead and start introducing yourselves.
I guess I'll go first.
I'll go first.
Mark Ogg, aka Ogstradamus, because I drink and I know things or something like that. Next, or do you want me to say more?
Well, what do you do in the band?
I do a lot of things, but my instrument is drums.
Right, drums.
He also plays.
If we couldn't tell by your drum kit behind you.
Yeah.
Block rock and beats.
Yes.
There you go.
Nice. Nice setup, by the way.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we were dorking on it.
Yeah, we were.
Next.
John.
Hi, John.
Hi, I'm John. I sing lead and I play guitar.
Cool. Nice.
I'm Josh. I sometimes sing, mostly poorly, and play guitar.
Oh, geez. I don't think it was poorly, but okay.
No.
I'm Papkin, and I play bass, and I'm here with Celine.
Ooh. Oh my God.
Oh,
I'm a huge bulldog fan.
me too. I have a pit bull myself. Like, he's somewhere around here. Oh my gosh, that was a pretty girl. Thank you for sharing her.
Oh.
We love to see fur babies. That's great. Well, thanks for introducing yourselves, guys. Let's talk a little bit about your band. So what band are you in?
We are the Peregrine Dives.
Nice.
I'm really interested in how you guys got that name.
Right. Tell us about the name.
Josh, take it away.
Well, so I'm kind of into the military, like camouflage and stuff. And they're the paratroopers wear a certain color. It's called para-green.
Oh.
And then I heard about the Falcon.
Yeah.
And I thought that would kind of be much cooler.
It is.
And then they dive, so the Peregrine dive sounded right.
Yeah, it does. That's
I like that.
very unique. I love it.
I like that.
So how long have you guys been a band?
3 years
Since probably about October.
of 2017.
Oh.
Wow. Wow. That's awesome. Very cool. So tell us a little bit about how you formed your band.
I had been in a Rancid tribute band. I had not been in a band for a really long time. And somebody I know me a text one day and asked me if I had interest in being in a Rancid tribute band, and I said, I think so. So I joined this Rancid Operation Ivy tribute band for about a year, and I loved it, and it was great, and it was the first band I had been in like 17 years. And I was in bands for a long time, and then when I was about 31, 32, just, you know, the pilot light went out. The pilot light of wanting to be in a band went out, and I just said, screw this. I'm tired of being in an angry truce with 3 or 4 other people at the same time. I'm going to focus on my career for a while. So I got married, bought a house, had a baby, and focused on my career and got a master's degree, and then just really started itching to play again. And I drive past the Skylark every day on my way to work. And then so I got out of nowhere, got the opportunity to be in this Rancid tribute band, and I loved it. It was so much fun, but that kind of some guys lost interest, and that band just kind of ended. And I thought, I don't want to stop playing again. I'm not going to go 17 years without being in a band again. So I started running an ad on the Northwest Musician Facebook page, where I met Mark, and he ended up coming to the last Rancid band show, the Rancid tribute show. He ended up coming to the very last show, and we hit it off, and I met his wife, and she's really awesome too. And so I started running the ads, and that's where we found Josh and Papkin.
That's awesome.
That is
awesome. One of my bandmates, Scott Saylor, says that he's been really digging your videos on YouTube.
Hey.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, do you guys like my mug?
Apologies, guys. I'm actually being leave.
Okay.
Okay, no worries.
Thank you so much for joining in.
Peace out.
See you, Josh.
You like my mug?
Oh my gosh, I love the mug.
Sweet.
Take care. All right, let's see that mug again.
Yeah. Why you mugging?
Fabulous.
It's Peter Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
That is awesome.
that's awesome. Very cool. I have a goblet.
Right on.
Yes. I actually broke my goblet a couple weeks ago and fixed it.
Oh, yay.
So, pretty excited. By the way, hey everybody in the chat room, thanks for joining us tonight.
We have like both bands of my bands are being represented. We have Giselle Presti from Fatal Butterfly.
Hey.
Hey.
She says, hey. We put you guys at Tony. Yes.
Yeah,
So,
Tony D's in Everett with Voodoo Death Gun.
Voodoo Death Guns, yeah. They're actually our guest next week, but
really?
yeah.
That's great. Yes, I remember that now. Back to back. I bet that was a great show, you guys.
Oh, it was a fun show.
And yeah,
you guys were amazing, like absolutely stunning.
Thank you.
You guys had great energy. You guys worked really well together too. I really like that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, truth be told, that was our first show playing together.
Yeah.
Got
John was telling me that when
it was I gotta say I was pretty happy with it, and I'm pretty proud of these guys, the way they came out and just kicked ass. I've been doing this for 25 years, and I've never had a first show like that with any band that was just that tight, and everybody just came out and kicked ass like that. So pretty proud to be playing with these guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sounds like you guys got a good team.
Definitely.
And yeah, you need that to be a band. So that's awesome. Like,
oh yeah.
What genre do you guys consider yourselves?
John?
I would say we are kind of I call us a shoegaze Britpop crossover.
Oh, okay.
Because the bands that I like the most, and the bands whose covers I always want to learn most, are my favorite shoegaze bands like Ride, Slow Dive, the Catherine Wheel, you know, even the Flaming Lips, you know, like really noisy
Oh my God,
guitar
I love
bands.
Flaming Lips, man. They are so crazy awesome.
And then I'm also I'm like we cover a Black Rebel Motorcycle Club song, and I'm really huge Britpop fan of 90s Britpop like Oasis, Suede, Blur. Our guitar player Josh is a huge Blur fan.
That's good.
Pulp, really major massive Pulp fan. My all-time favorite album is Dogman Star by Suede.
That's awesome.
And because I'm such a huge Joy Division fan, I kind of throw a post-punk in there as part of our genre.
Oh, sweet.
And
yeah. I get a
I
punk.
love Joy Division.
Yeah, totally. That's awesome. So I want to ask you all individually, how did you start your journey as a musician? When did you start playing your instruments, and when did you start singing? So go ahead, Oxtradamus.
When did I start? I don't remember.
Wow.
I've been beating on things since I was probably old
13
enough to walk. When did I? Probably 11 years old. I think I started playing in the school band. Snare drum, and then finally when I was about 15, got a real drum set. And just I think by the time I was 16, I was in my first band, and just keep going.
That's awesome. I started out snare drum at age 10 in the school band, so that's cool. We can kind of relate with that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was a strings girl when I started. Then I switched to drums, but not till way later in life.
You get a lot more aggression out with the kid.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you do. Hell yeah. You're going to have to show us the rest of your kit a little later if you can move your camera around.
Oh, yeah. I can probably do that.
Nice.
Yeah, sweet. We'd like to geek out on that a little bit more.
Yeah, room full of drummers. This doesn't happen very often.
What about you, John? When did you start playing?
Let's see. Well, for me, musically, like with a lot of people, it all started with Kiss back when I was really little, and had wanted to get a guitar, wanted to play guitar. But when I was in third grade, for Christmas, I got this set of I got this toy drum set with like the paper heads on it, and the bass drum said right on the bass drum, "Disco Dance Traps." And so my mom used to see me drumming a lot, and she knew that I was Kiss. I was a big fan of Peter Criss, and so they got me this little paper drum set, but it was just a paper drum set. I mean, if you tried to hit it too hard, it would break. So then they got me an acoustic guitar at a garage sale when I was 10, and it just kind of stayed in the closet for the longest time. So when I was in junior high, I also, I had to join the band. My mom and dad said, "You're going to join the band. You can't take study hall." And like you guys, I wanted to play drums in the band, but we had just moved to Arkansas, and it was 2 weeks too late. The drummers had already started, so I had to play trombone. So I played trombone in the junior high band, and I was like first chair trombone for like 3 years.
Huh.
And for my 13th birthday, I finally got an electric guitar. I taught myself how to. This is in like 1983. I taught myself how to play like the bass line from Metal Health by Quiet Riot, and the bass line from Iron Man,
Nice.
and the bass line from War Pigs on this acoustic guitar. And then when I finally got an electric guitar, it just kind of took off from there. and I started taking lessons. And when I was 14 years old, my friends and I, we formed my very first heavy metal rock band. We were called Rude Awakening. And this is back in Arkansas in the 80s. And then, so I continued playing guitar, and then I took lessons, and I had this series of lessons that you could buy from Circus Magazine, the Metal Method guitar lessons from Circus Magazine. And I got pretty good. I could play Eruption when I was like 15.
Whoa.
But one night when I was watching USA Night Flight one night, and they played U2 at Red Rocks overnight, and I watched it like twice. And then the next day, a friend of mine let me borrow a Psychedelic Furs tape, and it just blew me away that there was something other than blues-based pentatonic crotch rock in the world. So I started listening to the Psychedelic Furs, and U2 and Modern English, and the Cult. Really got into
Oh my God, I love Modern English.
Yeah, and then from there started like I had my first real serious band when I was in high school back in Arkansas in 1988. We back in Arkansas in the 80s, if you were in a band and you were different, if somebody came through town, you got to play with them. I opened for the Flaming Lips twice when I was a senior in high school. I opened for the Descendants. I opened for Dag Nasty. Came within a hair's breadth of opening for like Fugazi one time. And then from there, I moved to Minneapolis when I was in my 20s, and I played with Mercury Rev, and I was in a band there, and I played with Tommy Stinson of the Replacements. I played with Grant Hart of Husker Du. Did that for a year, and then I moved to Seattle 20 years ago, and I was in one band out here, and we played with the Posies and the Chainsaw Kittens, and we had some record label interest with John Richards from KEXP, and then it was right around that time that, like I said, every band I was ever in ended in an angry truce, and I just thought, I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of being angry at everybody all the time, and I'm just going to focus on something else for a while. And then fast forward 17 years to the Rancid Tribute Band.
That's awesome.
Wow. What a journey you had.
Man, I was hearing about John learning all those bass lines, and I'm surprised he still ended up going astray. Back to six strings. No, I'm kidding. But, well, man, I don't know. My first instrument was keyboards. I got piano lessons when I was a little kid. That was, all like very simplified classical music and folk songs and that kind of thing. And of course, my little sister's friends who started piano lessons a couple years before me would come over and say, I started that book about, the simplified crap in folk tunes, and I did that 2 years ago. So that didn't really hold my interest for that long. My mom bought me a little keyboard for maybe my 8th birthday, something like that. I had a preloaded song and sounds and that kind of thing. So fast forward a few years when I started kind of listen to my own music, pick it out for myself. And I was super, super nerdy by the time I was 11 or something like that. Like the chipmunk that I identified with was Simon, because he was tall. I was tall for my age, and he had glasses, and he was super nerdy.
Holy shit.
And that kept up for a few years. And when I was in middle school, I moved to Ireland. So I finished going to school there until college.
Well, that's cool.
And kept kind of banging away on the piano and didn't really feel in place there. That's kind of when techno music was kicking off in Ireland. It had come out in Germany a few years before that, in the late 80s. And other than, like the occasional U2 or something, you didn't really get a lot of rock music or really anything besides like techno and pop, all of which is fine, of course. But anyway, so then my parents had a guitar they'd got at a garage sale in like 1977, started picking away on that, picked out the melody line from Come As You Are, and then played in a band and at the end of high school, and then moved back to the Northwest and didn't really like play in a band after that. I got into jazz band in college. And I had also started to buy and sell music equipment as kind of a hobby when I was in college. It helped me pay for college a little bit. But I don't know, it was kind of a weird time musically to be around here anyway. It's kind of like living on Capitol Hill. It's like you can really find a lot of people that, you know, either listened to or knew how to play a lot of the same music. So this is around like year 2000, like the hipster thing was around, but it hadn't really kicked off and like become mainstream. And yeah, so I don't know. So I mean, kind of similar to John, I'd been in jazz band in community college, and then the question was I going to go and do a music major? And I looked at that and I thought, man, that's so much more money, and it's going to take all this time to graduate. And I was getting old enough there to know, you know, teachers and friends of mine who were musicians and doing it as a job, and just the amount of like there are a lot that did fine, but I think what's pretty common with a lot of them is, you know, they've got to hustle. They do a combination of teaching or teaching in schools and doing score writing or transcribing, and recording or session work, or, you know, and then to fit their, you know, their own creative projects in between that. And so I think the focus became more of, are you going to do this as a job? And I decided no. And are you going to, you know, wake up 2 hours early in the morning to spend an hour sight reading and playing piano and then practicing your instrument like Charles Mingus did, that kind of thing? And I'd be honest, I said no. And, you know, I also put it down for 15 years or something, other than playing around with friends until last year. And then after I'd played a little bit, I thought, oh, I want to try being in a band again. And so I responded to John's ad, and he had some bands in there and stuff that don't always see people mention around here, stuff I grew up around in Ireland. So that was kind of that.
Huh. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks for asking.
I teach art, but it kind of feels the same way, because I can't do music as my income. So I have that, you know, to keep the income coming, but I get to play music for fun, you know.
You know, I have to make a comment about the music teachers today.
Yeah.
They're so cool. Music
are.
teachers today are so cool, especially in the schools. Like, a friend of mine posted a picture on Facebook a couple years ago of the orchestra room where his daughter played her cello, and there's like Beatles and Nirvana posters all over the orchestra room. And I remember when I was in like school, music teachers were so square.
Yeah.
They were so square and boring, and you know, they thought that anything other than if you listen to anything other than Mozart,
yeah, it was all like Fräulein Maria types.
Yeah. Firebird Sonata or something.
Male and female and everything in between.
I even had I had a music teacher in college when I was taking an arts class in college, who basically stood up in front of an auditorium of people and dismissed anything that wasn't classical or jazz. He said, no, it's all noise. He said, because it's not defined. And unless it's a defined genre and it's, you know, and it's like on paper, you know, musically written on, it's noise. And I just wanted to stand up and say, dude, you are hanging on to a dead art form here that nobody really appreciates anymore. Right. You've got an auditorium full of people who love rock and roll, and you just lost trust with all of them.
Right.
And I just remember my junior high music teacher, she was just this really crabby, obnoxious woman that hated rock and roll too. And I'm just, it's so good to see the kids these days learning from all these really kick-ass teachers like that gal that plays guitar for the Dee Dees. Corey, she's a music teacher. That's so cool.
It is cool.
That is cool.
I've got to say, teachers are cool. Like, I work with a lot of really cool teachers. My peers are awesome. Like, it's different now. We have tattoos, we have colored hair, you know, like, we're not stuffy, if that makes sense. And kids can relate with us because, like, we're real people. I mean, the kids that I work with think it's awesome. I'm in a rock band and that I do this. So
Yeah, yeah, they kind of see something outside of the whole junior high school orchestra thing.
yeah.
My
Yeah, I
middle
mean,
school band teacher, he was like polar opposite of what John was describing. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I remember he brought all the percussionists into his office one day, and he put on a police record and had us listening to Stuart Copeland, and was pointing out all the little dynamics, all the little nuances that Copeland's famous for, and it was so refreshing because my brother's quite a bit older than me, so I grew up listening to all this older stuff. The Police. That was probably I was 5 or 6 years old when I was introduced to the Police, and
Oh wow.
by the time I'm playing drums in junior high, and you got a teacher. I mean, he instantly had credibility. So it was like, okay, whatever this guy says, he knows what he's talking about, right? And then he moved off and then had a different teacher in high school, and that guy was like super militant, and it was just not fun anymore.
Ah.
But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Und 1 and 2 and 9, you miss a beat.
Well, that's cool. You guys remember some of your old school teachers, and yeah, in a good light too. Like I had some pretty cool teachers back in the day. That's why I am a teacher. So, but I didn't have like a music teacher that had awesome band posters up. We did cover the Doobie Brothers though, so
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, he wasn't totally like stick in the mud.
when I was in orchestra, we didn't cover anything except for like Chopin and Bach and Mozart, and
Yeah. I always wanted our high school band to do Tusk by Fleetwood Mac, but I never could.
Oh, dang.
To take that serious.
Yeah, we did some cool stuff in pep band, like like Queen, and we did some Bon Jovi, and we did like Lowrider, and like it was really cool. Like we did some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Well, sweet.
I up until the quarantine started and up until school got canceled here in King County, I was actually going to be, for lack of a better description, I was going to be co-directing my niece's high school production of Chicago. I was going to be working with the guys and teaching them this thing. When I told the drama teacher about my background, because I was in theater in high school too, and I did some musical theater.
Wow. Yeah, this quarantine stuff has gotten crazy, man.
We might have lost him.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everyone thinks it's such a big deal and it's so different. I mean, this is like, I mean, probably at least 6 days out of 7 in a week are usually like this for me. So I'm used to
it. Your whole life.
All in a day's work.
So Rebecca, she wants to know if you guys are music, and when will it be out?
We are working on new music. We spent a lot of time just getting things tight, getting off the ground, getting the first show. I think everybody's got a lot of song ideas right now, and we're trying to kind of corral all those ideas and work them into some songs. So when will they be out? I don't think we really have any kind of firm timelines or anything like that. But
sorry.
Hi.
Hey,
No worries,
John. You might want to get in on this one too. We had somebody ask if we are working on new music.
if you guys are working on any new music, and when will it be out?
So I was just saying that we have some song ideas that we've kind of thrown around, and we're just kind of trying to get all those ideas together and work out some new songs as far as the timeline. We don't really have anything permanent.
Everyone should look forward to catching the new and improved expanded set list. Hold on, a bus is going by. New and improved expanded set list at the first post-quarantine Peregrine Dive show.
Very good.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned that it's been 18 years since I was in a band that wrote original music, and it's hard. It's been hard to try and get back into the swing of writing. But the short answer to the question, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, sometimes your
Okay.
microphone sounds a little odd, but we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Sometimes I'm trying to write, and it's strange because I don't quite know what to write about. When I was younger, every song was about I'm lonely and I'm love and screw the world, and things are different now. I'm not sure what I want to write about and what I want to say. But to answer the question, yeah, I've got some stuff that I started working on a long time ago that I put on demos, and I'm starting to have ideas again. And I've got the notebook out, and I've got my Pro Tools out, and we're just going to start writing as much as we can and recording as much as we can too. We discovered with the gear that Mark has at his house, he's got great mics and great gear and a great mixer and everything, and he bounced it all down to these files, and I mixed them on an old version of Pro Tools and a laptop that has like 512K of memory, and we're confident we can produce our own recordings, and we're going to just write as much as we can, and be part of live music again, and be part of the music scene again. So I don't want to go 17 years without playing again.
I hear you. But we can all be
I mean, I just show up and play bass, so I just do what these guys tell me to do. But another factor to it is that like they're also probably, like what I've seen so far, like different kind of approaches or styles to writing in the band, and it never like really occurred to me that that's something that you have to kind of work with, but like it is. Like John was just mentioning that he's like very good, what I've seen so far, at like kind of building on an idea, or really like building things out and like thinking about different parts, or like the different kind of like sonic qualities that a whole song could sound like. Josh will just show up with his guitar and bash out power chords and kind of jam something live. Mark seems to be able to do it either way. And so, as long as I can show up and say like, guys, what do I do? And they'll just like, Pap can just play A. And I say, okay, great. Then the songs seem to come along. So
I can kind of talk about any writing situation. Inspiration just comes out of the air for me.
That's awesome.
I can be sitting at the train tracks and be oddly inspired by something. So kind of looking forward to some writing sessions.
I'm the same way, or I'll hear like some melody in my head, and then from that melody I just like come up with some sick ass drum beats in my head.
Yeah.
But I'm always like driving somewhere or doing something else, never behind like my drum kit. And by the time I get home, I'm like, dang, what was that beat I was thinking about?
So there's
yeah, I just like keep a pad and paper and write it down.
There's a song called Subway by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. Are you guys familiar with it?
The song, no.
I would recognize it.
It's a great song. You should look it up because the drums is actually the sound of the subway train. And you don't really realize it until it gets to the end of the song, and it kind of fades out except for the sound of the train going down the tracks. But there's this rhythm of it kind of clicking as it's going down the rails. And it's a really unique rhythm, and they've kind of built that into the song and built the song around it. Check it out. It's awesome. But that's the kind of stuff that inspires me. It just comes out.
Yeah, I might have to read familiar with that. Nice.
It can be the sound of the washing machine and somewhere.
Yes,
I
get that.
You know?
I didn't know I was in a band with Bjork.
There you go.
That's awesome.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is.
And there's technology today that that we didn't have years ago.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
A couple of weeks ago, I was in bed like 5:45 in the morning or something, and I had this lick running through my head. So I get my phone out. I put it on, like, start taking a video, and I hold it up to my mouth, and I'm like, okay, the melody is like, it's gonna sound like this, and there's a tambourine shaking in the background, and the melody goes like this, da da na 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 na, and then I went back to sleep and got up like the next day, and I went, did I really put something on my phone at 5:45? And I went back and listened to it, and sure enough. So then I came down with the Pro Tools, and I just tried to play it out and build it out a little bit, and it's something.
I think you're onto something there.
And then I did it again.
I'm gonna start doing that.
That's funny, John. We got to sit down and compare voice memos because I do the same thing.
Huh. That is really smart, you guys. I like that.
Yeah, but
to its fullest.
Was that Papkin?
it's a little bit noisy. Yeah, but like even just like the ability, the fact that we can record in our practice room in Mark's basement, like I remember when I was in secondary school, high school, right? Like right after we graduated, one of our friends who was in a different band said, "Oh, my parents just built me a studio," right? And he had Pro Tools, and he had mics, he had a drum kit, he had everything.
Nice.
So we went over there to make our demo, and we spent, I don't know, like 1 or 2 weeks, and half the time was just trying to figure out how this stuff worked, right?
Yeah.
I don't think any of us in that band were ever too finicky, but like the end product we ended up with sounded like garbage. And we'd know bands that were like ahead of that curve from where we were in town, who would go into what was supposed to be proper studios and, somewhere in Dublin, who'd go and do the recording, and then the CD would come out and it would sound like actual garbage compared to like what you can just do with a handful of mics and a laptop these days. I had no idea. I also had no idea that you could get away with just running everything direct or out of tiny amps, and you didn't have to have a bass amp the size of a fridge to play in a live venue anymore. So that's been pretty eye-opening.
Yeah, you don't need that. And yeah, it can push a lot of sound out of those little amps. Yeah.
No, you just need like even a input box. For bass, you just get a DI and boom, it goes right into the board. Awesome.
Pretty amazing.
The Sans amp. That's all you need.
Speaking of
I'm confident. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah,
no, go ahead. You're cool.
Well, I mentioned this old laptop that I have, and I have an M-Box 2.0. You remember the M-Box? They don't even make them anymore. And an old version of Pro Tools LE that during my time when I wasn't in a band anymore, when I wasn't playing live anymore, and wasn't writing, what I would do is I would come down to my basement and I would do cover versions of obscure songs that I liked in ways that I wanted to hear them. Like I did an all piano version of Ceremony by New Order, and I did I did a version of Space Age Love Song by Flock of Seagulls, the way I heard the Flaming Lips play at Lollapalooza, and I did an Everly Brothers song one time. I did a hard rock version of Girl That I Knew Somewhere by the Monkees, and I think I feel like I got pretty good with Pro Tools and mixing and panning and levels and everything, and that gave me the experience to mix what we recorded at Mark's house.
Oh,
There you go.
That's awesome. Yeah, we have a home studio. It's the way to go, man. I love it.
I'm a drummer, so like, I don't know none of that stuff. I just like the professional family. Like,
Max
I
does
don't know.
all of that stuff. Max does all of that stuff for us. So I'm thankful I have my partner in crime to take care of that.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
lucky I can like do the techie stuff on our show here. I'm just like, I don't know, I'm pushing buttons till I figure it out.
Yeah, props to Crash. She does our tech stuff here. So that's how we're able to do this.
That's what you want to call it.
I just show up like you guys.
Buttons.
So I was going to ask you guys about your instruments and your equipment since we were talking about recording equipment. Like, tell us about your gear. Drummers first.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yes,
Yeah,
people dork on like babe.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
She wants to see your
No,
drums. Take us to your drums.
I think we got a bad connection. Can you say that again?
Can you show us more of your drums?
Sure.
Sorry, guys, my internet kind of got slow.
You do have a funky connection.
Okay.
It's the
That's
quarantine.
okay, girl. No worries.
We
Ha!
let me. Can I flip this camera around? Yeah. Let's do that.
Oh,
Okay,
nobody's
so-
see, I never got to really come up on stage and look at it closely at Tony V's,
Here, let me.
but I was admiring it from afar, and it looked really awesome that they have. How beautiful! Oh, ooh.
So this is a drum company that was started by Alan Sharp of Santana. He was their percussionist. He started making percussion equipment, congas, timbales, things like that.
Right.
And the company was eventually bought by Marshall, as in Jim Marshall, the famous Marshall stacks, and they started manufacturing drum kits. And I've got a buddy that has a store in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that he just gave me a great deal on this. I went and played it, fell in love with the kit, and here we are.
That's awesome.
This is one of 3 kits that I currently own.
Wow.
I also have a Sonar Select Force Maple, which I usually use just for practice and maybe a little bit of recording. And then I have a Sockeye Pac D, which Sockeye is one of those. It's a Japanese company. They used to make the high-end Yamaha kits, and that relationship somehow it dissolved, and Sockeye said, okay, well, our agreement's null and void, so now we're going to North America, and yada yada. And then they filed bankruptcy, and Korg came in and bought them. But yeah, they make great kits, so yeah, check them out. But the Natal kit is my main kit. It's all birch shells, and just absolutely love them. They project. They got a lot of attack, and they're mean.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
Thanks for sharing.
yeah, no problem.
Your jam spot is great. I love the setup.
Oh, thank you.
That's
Very
awesome.
It's a little bit of a work in progress, but
They usually are. I get you.
got more things to hang on the wall. But you know, I just moved here a little over a year ago, so
Oh,
I'm kind of still
Slowly but surely.
yeah, still settling. I get you.
yeah.
Nice.
So who's next?
Go ahead, John.
Let's pick on John.
Yeah, pick on John.
All right. So I don't have a ton of gear. I've never really had a ton of gear. You know, I kind of I think about how my stagnation with playing music, and I'm one of those people who just was really set in his ways gear wise, and I hear stories about people who are always selling gear and swapping gear, and are actually Josh and Papkin had met each other. Our guitar player Josh and Papkin had met each other before they auditioned from each other or something. They had recognized each other playing gear. But with that said, I was an Ibanez guitar guy for the longest time because I thought they've got the easy slim necks and everything, and they sound great. They're just loud. Ibanez guitars are just freaking loud. So I've had this guitar. I'm gonna turn the light on. Hang on.
Oh wow, you got a good.
So it's hanging on the wall. I've had this pink Ibanez guitar. I got it when I was 17, and you notice it has one of those Floyd Rose.
Oh, that's great.
Floating tremolo systems that takes you 2 hours to change the strings.
Oh
Yeah.
And so freaking hard, and because
Aren't they like
and
backwards
the
or
little
something?
no, it's just to change the strings. You have to cut the little ball off and then lock each one of them in there with an Allen wrench, literally.
That's
And,
right.
like-
Oh, they are such a pain in the butt.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a total bitch to change the strings on this, and like these little screws here. Over the years, the threads in these screws were started to strip. So I don't think I changed the strings on the sucker for like 10 years, and it got all nasty. But and I ended up buying. I bought a replacement bridge on it recently on eBay for like $30, and I parted it out and I restored it. But this was my main guitar for the longest time. But it was such a pain to change the strings. I ended up getting this guitar in my last band. It's kind of like an Ibanez Iceman, but it's called an ICX. It's like an Ice Baby, and you notice it's got the simple bridge on it. Easy to change the strings. This was my backup guitar, but it became my primary guitar because it was easy to play and easy to tune. It doesn't have the locking thing on the bridge and on the nut. So this was my primary. But then when I was in the Rancid tribute band, because I was going to be Lars Frederiksen of Rancid, I needed an SG, right? So I had SG Standard. I bought my SG Standard for the Rancid band. And then this is my pedal board. Here's my pedal board. It's not a lot. It's just distortion, overdrive, flanger, reverb, and gain. And that's the noise gate. I could be one of those people. I have enough effects that I would be one of those people who there wasn't enough room on the stage for in some venues. But this nice pedal bag I have keeps me contained, so it does. And amplifier wise, this is a PV Renown 400 that I bought in 1987 at Music Sound World in Tulsa, and I lugged this thing all around the continent with me, and it doesn't really work that well anymore.
Oh.
So again, when I was in the Rancid band, I had to get a new amp when I was in the Rancid tribute. So I ended up getting this. First of all, do you like this? Do you like this amp cover? This was made from the old curtains from my daughter's playroom.
Oh my gosh,
I love it.
It's pink, right?
Oh, yeah, it's pink argyle.
Very cute.
So then I bought a Vox AC15, and it's the first ever tube amp that I owned, and it's simple.
Ooh.
And it's beautiful, and I love it.
Such rich tones. Such tones.
John's tones are very reminiscent of Aerosmith records from the second half of the 70s.
I love Aerosmith.
Yeah. John's tone is
It's
great.
That is great.
That's pretty much all I've got.
I love your setup too.
I
You
don't-
have a good spot yourself. Very cool.
Yeah, I'm down in my basement. I'm in the man cave.
That's great. That's great.
All right, Papkin, what kind of basses you got?
Well, I don't have a practice room, and you'd think that given how much buying and selling I've done, I'd have cooler stuff. But I've got let's see, an Epiphone copy of a Gibson Thunderbird. which is a 5-string bass, and it's got a little crack in the neck I have to glue, and it's it gets the job done. You know, the intonation's a little off, and the pickups are a little bit uneven in terms of what they put out.
Mm-hmm.
And then my amp is the first bass amp I ever bought, which is just an Ashdown practice amp. I got it from Bass Northwest back when I was, I think, right at the end of being in college jazz band, or right after that. And I don't know, I really love the sound. It's kind of ironic, like anybody who knows anything about bass playing, the Fender Precision bass, which is, you know, one of the original electric bass guitars, maybe the original mass-produced one, has made a big comeback, at least from what I've seen in the last 10, 15 years. Whereas back when I stopped playing, the industry standard was an active 5-string bass. So what everyone says about it is they say, oh, but it's, you know, it fulfills this harmonic content and the frequencies that fit so well in so many mixes, and it's such a classic sound, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And yet a lot of bass players these days, I find, still really like more hi-fi, or at least, you know, cleaner sounding bass amps. Like the Class D bass amps are very popular. They also like a lot of, you know, what I think of as processing, you know, so onboard EQ, and then a preamp, and then a post preamp, pre-power amp EQ, and, you know, an overdrive and shaping, and blah, 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 blah. And probably because I say what?
A TC Electronic. It's awesome.
That sounds like it'd be pretty rad. But maybe because that stuff seems overwhelming for me, I usually don't bother with all that. So the Ashdown's great. You know, it's kind of an older sound, more I guess more akin to Ampeg or acoustic, and I can run a direct out from it, and I can just about hear myself at practice over the guitar players if I plug it into the PA. So that's it.
Sweet.
Basing and practicing.
To introduce you.
Oh, okay.
This is Buddy.
Oh, cool. Hey, Buddy. He looks like he wants something.
He does. He wants this.
Cute.
So yeah, he's hanging out because I got some popcorn.
Hi, buddy. Remember Sky would like get over my face? I miss her.
I know. I miss seeing her too.
I'll have to go visit her.
Let's talk about where you guys are all at. I'm in Sequim, Washington.
I'm in Lake Stevens.
I'm in Bothell.
Right on.
I am in West Seattle.
Okay.
I'm in Burien.
Oh, wow.
Where's this one down?
You are. So where do you guys get together to practice?
Burien?
Right here.
Mark's house.
Burien.
Aha. Okay. Sweet. That's the stomping ground.
I've dubbed this the Chem Lab. This is where 4 people come into a room and chemistry happens.
That's great.
And our guitar player Josh he lives in Everett.
Silver Lake and Everett, yeah.
Oh,
so it's a bit of a trek.
He's got a big commute.
He does. Yeah. What days do you guys get together?
I'm sorry?
What, Saturday mornings.
Saturday morning.
Yeah. Weekends.
Yeah,
Perfect.
So that kind of get it out of the way. Josh can get off dad duties, and he can make sure to stop by his extra property to pick up his pedal board, and hire a couple movers to help him move it into his car, and then we have time to set it up with the supercomputer back at Mark's basement.
Yeah, Josh has this pedal board that's like the size of a VW bus.
Oh my gosh. That's a little overkill.
but only slightly. I mean, this guy's got he's got wicked. I can speak more intelligent to it, but
Yeah, he has cut down since we've known him, but he's Mr. Soundscapes.
Yeah,
That's funny.
And if,
Pretty
if
cool.
I hadn't fo-
our palate.
if I hadn't found him, I would be trying to be him. But I found him, so I don't have to be him.
I love that.
I'm always fascinated as to like what every pedal does. I'm just like, I don't know. Like even when I was playing bass, I mean, I still dink around on the bass once in a while, but like, it's been many years since I've played a show on bass. But I still like to play bass, but I like it clean because I like it really punchy.
Yeah.
And so I'm always like, this one does this, and this one does that, and this one, if you do this and click it 45 times, and click it 9 times after that, and then, push a little button, do the hokey pokey, and it'll magically do some really cool stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'll take your word for it. I have tone print on my bass, yeah.
I understand that.
At one time, Josh had 5 overdrive pedals on his board.
Wow.
Why would you, like, that's just overkill.
Oh, no. It's soundscaping. Josh is like he's like Van Gogh or something. Like everything's another texture to him.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
He uses them all the way they're supposed to be used.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their thing and their style, man.
Toms. I'm a drummer. Toms. I have like 3 words, Tom, and 2 kicks, and I just felt like every single one of my toms is just another texture. It's another tone. It's like, more stuff like guitar players, 12 notes that they can play. I need that.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see Hank set up. I saw.
Okay. I'm gonna plug my laptop in. Hang on.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy to see you got that.
Yeah, no, I've been actually jamming with a few different people lately, and they have really helped me come out of my shell as far as progressing. Because I've been wanting to tap into my potential, and I just have been staying in the comfort zone while playing with musicians and more aggressively, like made me punch into like my potential. I got a lot of new grooves and names from session.
Hey, Crash, you cut out a little bit there.
Everybody's like, oh.
Okay, I was checking to see if it was my connection.
Am I back?
Are you sure? Are you sure she's cutting out, or did she turn on a synth? That's what it sounds like to me. like a memory man or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought she was just dubstepping.
Ooh, you like the dubstep?
You gonna go?
So I'd like to. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm getting some echo. Do we know where that's coming from?
Like I said,
How about now?
the connection's super weird tonight. Sorry, guys.
What's happening?
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh,
I can.
we're coming up on an hour, and I told the guys that I wanted to be sure. I want everybody to have an opportunity to tell a good band story or two.
Oh yes, please too.
So-
We're totally open to story time, man.
So I said about an hour in, I wanted to read this during the show, and it's a message from a guy who Mark and I met up with who responded to the ad, and it was a prospective bass player, right?
Oh.
So I posted, I sent him a link to our SoundCloud, to my SoundCloud page, and to a playlist on Spotify. And being a new band, looking for stuff to play, trying to come up with a set list, I posted some songs from the last band I was in a long time ago. And one of the songs is called Jackass Lazy Susan. And at the time, I wrote it a long time ago, and it's just a song about, basically a song about an alcoholic starfucker who hangs out at bars. We all know those people, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so this dude, I sent him a link to the song, and this was his response after he listened to it. Okay, he says, I dig the tune, so forgive me for saying, but this one doesn't work for me. I used to dig picking on the stupid, but now my urge is to help them. Still looking forward to jamming and hope my displeasure in Jackass Lazy Susan isn't a showstopper. If it is, I get it, and no worries, but if we're still on, maybe we can just turn it into something that we can play live in front of women. Also, and he says, also, let me know how much cash I should bring for rehearsal space. And I replied back to him, you're overthinking it. It's just something to play for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
He replies back again. I can oblige rehearsing it once or twice. Thank you for the compliment, as I overthink everything. For what it's worth, an accidental focus group yielded folded arms. The ladies in my family bent an eyebrow as the clip was rolling, a good indicator of that track's potential to offend with no discernible positive reason. I didn't hear any denouement in the narrative arc, so point it out if I missed something. Indulge a little jackass as I hold forth a bit further. Things that would make me dig the lyrics. If Lazy Susan was heroin. If female sexuality wasn't presented in a pejorative and judgmental way. If there was a redemptive storyline. If Jackass Lazy Susan was an actual Lazy Susan. If Jackass Lazy Susan was a temperamental guitar amp that blazes blistering shoegaze solos. Like I said before, good song, guitars, singing, and production value. The lyrics, an amalgam of a groupie floozy, are dated and off-putting. And so I get to the end of that, and I thought, dude, next time I see this dude, I'm probably going to want to hit him. So I replied back.
That is so weird.
Yeah, I'm thinking,
and of course, he was a bass player.
And I'm thinking the first time I ever run anything that I do past a focus group is going to be the last time, and I'm going to stall my year. And so I replied back to him, this is a lot of negativity, and we haven't even struck a note together. Honestly, I don't think we would work out in the long run, and I'm going to rerun my posting. Thanks for your interest.
Yeah.
And then he was able to save face a message that said, I am truly sorry for all that criticism. It was wrong of me, and expect a more polite person if we cross paths. You should be proud of your music and have fun playing it, no matter other opinions. And yeah, I agree. Eventually, he kind of redeemed himself in the end, but I thought, good God, that was the first time I met that dude. How does he ever play in a band with anybody with criticism like that? Dating
right.
ball and narrative arc and bullshit.
You have to admit his follow-up message was nice, so maybe he just has to learn.
I guess. Man.
Yeah, he redeemed himself.
We all deal with awkward situations like that as musicians and as humans. Like, there's always those really weird moments, even at shows or I don't know, different gatherings, which aren't happening now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
What venues have you guys played?
Right now, just Tony V's. We were supposed to have our second show 2 days from now. We were supposed to play at Drunky Two Shoes White Center 2 days from now, but I mean, I haven't even heard back from the booker in like a week. I just haven't heard from her. So
Wow. Oh goodness. Yeah. So much is getting canceled. That's a bummer too. I was going to play Tony V's for the first time at the Hybrid Festival May 1st, and that's already been canceled with potential of a reschedule. But still, it's like, when will we reschedule? The date seems to be pushed back further and further. That's why, I wanted to bring up our viral concert that we're doing. We're doing a concert series. It's like a festival, a virtual festival, and we've collaborated with Big Woods Records. In fact, Brandon Welch from Toast and Big Woods Records contacted us. So shout out to Brandon. We are putting together a 6-week virtual festival for everybody to just keep the music scene going, because it's abruptly stopped, just like everything else. So
yes, we are working really hard to get all the bands together, but we're also gonna try to see if we can't set up like a donation site. I'm still looking into it, to where we can help the musicians through this hard time, because a lot of our shows were canceled, and we were expecting to make dollars from it. So and we understand that these are tough times and a lot of people are not working, so it's not going to be like a mandatory $5 donation, but like if you are in a position where you can donate, like we appreciate it, because we want to make sure that the musicians that are going to be playing on the festival, they're donating their time, so it'd be kind of nice to kind of give back during these hard times.
Yeah.
And maybe we can come up with some other like good cause, like I don't know, feeding children who can't go to school and get their school lunches and stuff. A lot of parents are concerned about that. So
I have
I think
I've got a couple
go ahead,
friends
Mark.
in Oklahoma that they're in the industry, and they tour with artists. I mean, one of them tours with Frampton, and another was Ziggy Marley, and they're those guys that plus they pick up a lot of other tours and some freelance work when they're back at home, and they're not getting any work. They're just kind of dead in the water. They're trying to figure out how they're gonna pay rent and keep their belly full. So it's tough times for musicians for sure. I mean, I'm thankful that I have another job that I can I got money coming in, because there are a lot of those guys, those freelance guys that whether they're artists, musicians, tech guys, sound engineers, those guys are probably, a lot of them are probably struggling right now. So
yeah, they are. Yeah,
it's tough times.
It is tough. It is tough times. That's why we, wanted to keep pushing our live streaming. We usually have segments. I have a music news segment. Crash has in our neck of the woods, but since most of our state, is shut down, venues, restaurants, bars.
Nothing's going on. And there's some virtual shows too.
What I do want
definitely pay attention to Facebook, because I know a lot of our hosts saying watch parties, and certainly if you can share it, because the more you share, the more people it reaches, and it's just going to help everybody in the end.
And that's the thing. I think we gotta pull together. We gotta power through however we can. Help those guys that aren't able to get work or able to get a paycheck however you can, whether it's $5, whether $5, $50. They're not picky. And the bands that are out there trying, their shows are getting canceled. They're trying to get their name out there. They're trying to establish themselves. Check out the shows that they're streaming. Buy their merch.
Definitely.
It's going to come around in a few
Check
months.
out their YouTube channel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Watch their Facebook videos.
Absolutely. We're going to try and get more videos out there as well. And, we want, hey, you know what? If you can't go see a show, watch a show on YouTube. Or try and support your local bands and the unsigned bands that, they're trying to power through.
My vision
now that we're all
my vision,
locked in our houses during quarantine, like we're gonna need those distractions, and everybody is, it's a technological world. Everybody's on Facebook, like your band rehearsals. People will appreciate that.
Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, now.
Okay. Well, my kind of vision for how the band was going to play out, because of geographically where we are, half of us are up north and half of us are down south. What I wanted to try and play around here in my neighborhood, like Drunky Two Shoes is like 3 blocks from my house, and I want to play at the Skylark. And I want to, oh my gosh, with the Rancid tribute band, I did a show at the Southgate roller rink. That was a blast. Oh my God. And then Black Zia down in Mark's neighborhood, we want to play there. And then up north, there's, of course, in Everett where Josh lives, there's Tony D's. There's a couple other venues right there in downtown Everett. And there's this one other place, I can't remember, right by Josh's house. So I think I would like stick to those 2 areas. And then, but also one of the things I want to do with this band is I want to try and play places I've never played before, like street fairs, like, the Georgetown Street Fair or the West Seattle Street Fairs and things like that. And I knew that when I was in the Rancid tribute band, a Rancid tribute band is never going to get a gig at one of those cool street fairs. A casino maybe, but never one of those street fairs where there's a lot of people and it's outdoors and it's really festive. And so I'd like to do that. But, the way my commute used to be, I would drive past the baseball stadium every day. And you know how sometimes there's that Bud Light stage across the street from the baseball stadium where they have bands play?
Mm-hmm.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to try and play really cool gigs. Oh, and after we played at Tony V's, the sound guy there at Tony V's recommended us to play at the Fisherman's Village Festival up there in Everett. That would be so cool. I want to do stuff like that, but a lot of people do. It's a competitive world out there, so I don't. The guys and I have we've chatted about it before, but I want to start incorporating some more visuals into our show. Like, I got to tell you, when I saw the Flaming Lips for the first time back in 1988, oh my God, it was astounding. I remember it was at this club in Little Rock, and I had dropped my wristwatch, and I was walking around in the dark looking for my wristwatch, and I feel something hitting me on the neck. And I turn around, the entire room is filled with balls everywhere. And then eventually they had like strobe lights and smoke and lasers and all this crazy Christmas lights and all this crazy stuff. And I still remember the impression that left on me. And you got to give people a reason. You got to give people a reason to put you on their bill. And I know I don't have the budget or the manpower to look like Kiss and have a show like that, but I want to play places that I've never played before, and I want to put on a show that people will have a blast coming to see.
Right. I think you have to give people a reason. I mean, you look at, big bands, they put out a great album, and that's great by itself. But what gets a guy out of his living room to go and see a show? There's got to be a visual element, and there's got to be something audible that they just get on the album. And I've always kind of prescribed to the philosophy that you should get something on the album that you can't get live, and you should get something live that you can't get on the album. And
Yeah,
when you do that, you kind of get both sides of it, and that's giving the fans the bang for their buck.
Yeah, definitely.
So something else I wanted to bring up. You guys, Mark has played at Rocklahoma. He actually played at Rocklahoma. I wanted him to tell you guys about that. It's a cool story.
Yes, please do.
Oh gosh, let's see, 2008. I was playing with a band called Fresh Hot Lint, and we did a lot of original tunes, and we got on the bill at Rocklahoma, and it was cool, but the weather was horrible. It's one of those things where it doesn't. You can plan the picnic, but you can't predict the weather. So the weather was horrible. It was crazy rain, and we didn't even know if we were going to go on. And then about an hour before we took the stage, it was like the clouds just parted, and the sun came out, and it was beautiful. And we did our set. It was cool, but the best part of it for me was all the bands that I had grown up listening to, meeting all these musicians and getting to hang out. And most of the bands that we watched actually from the stage. We weren't in the crowd, we weren't in the bleachers. We were on the stage. I remember meeting Will Calhoun from Living Color.
Wow.
And just watching them from the balcony on the side of the stage, and just he's always kind of been one of those drummers that I look up to, and just watching him play, and it's a totally different vantage point. And then I remember hanging out backstage with the guys from Tesla. And I remember Brian Wheat, he comes over, and he was like, man, good to meet you guys, shakes everybody's hand. He's like, what was the set good? Did it sound okay? How was my bass? Did my bass sound okay? I mean, it's crazy, because like these guys they've seen it all, they've done it all. They've been on world tours, and they're coming backstage, and they're talking to these guys that are, in their world, amateurs, and they have the same concerns that we do. Did my kick drum sound okay? Did the hi-hat cut through? Did you, how was the show? Did you guys enjoy it? It's funny to see, how humble our heroes can be, and another funny story, Jackal played that year, and everybody knows Jackal, right? Jesse Dupree's got the the whole thing with the chainsaw. So we're watching from the side of the stage, from the balcony, and well, when they go into Lumberjack, Jesse, he comes from kind of backstage. He's on these cables, they kind of bring him out over the drum set and everything. And
that's cool.
They probably should have put one more cable on him, but he wasn't supported quite the way he should have been. So he was trying to turn in the air, and he's kind of kicking and wiggling and trying to get himself squared back up with the crowd. You know, he's trying to put on a show. Do his whole thing with the chainsaw, and so they lower him down right in front of the drum riser, and as he's kicking and trying to get himself squared back up with the crowd, he drops his right hand down, which is holding the chainsaw, and it cuts into the rim of the bass drum.
Oh,
And I mean, I'm not kidding. I mean, you can see the shrapnel flying, and he's just got this look of. I mean, he's disgusted himself. He's like, oh God, and he turns around and looks at the drummer, and you can't hear him, but you can see his mouth. He says, "I'm sorry."
Oh.
And it's just one of those crazy things,
Yeah.
Again, it's
Sorry doesn't cut it like, oh my gosh.
when
that would be horrible.
you're backstage with these big bands, and you kind of see, crap happens to them too, and it's refreshing to know that even the big guys have problems.
Oh yeah, we're all human. We all have problems and make mistakes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
Shit happens.
It was
Yep. That poor guy. Jeez.
it was a crazy fun weekend. And if you
I bet it was.
Sounds like it. I mean, good Lord.
It's all about the party. It's like 4 days of the most drunken craziness.
What a fun way to like interact with your fans too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And make new ones.
I always loved, we used to have Cane Fest. And at Cane Fest, it was pretty much all like the hot bands in the local industry, but it was like metal and like hard rock and stuff. And it would be like 2 or 3 days of just like bands playing, and you get to go camping out there on somebody's party or on somebody's private land.
Yeah.
And they'd have like this stage that they wheel in. They even had like beer, like they'd have this beer wagon, and they had a tattoo parlor out there. It was crazy. It was like $10 for the whole entire weekend, and it was just like you get to go camping. You could buy food there. It was so much fun, and it was always like local people supporting the local bands, and
fun.
like, it was so much fun, and I really miss those days. I feel like we don't have those kinds of festivals anymore.
Yeah,
I miss those days.
I think they'll come back after all this. I think we'll all be itching for.
Oh man, somebody's gonna have to do something, because we need like some like few days where we can all go camping and just F shit up.
I know. I wish I could go camping. Like I have a VW bus, and the motor's getting rebuilt. So
in a respectful way. Like, yeah.
What?
Hey, I have the new band van though.
You do.
I have my new band van, so I can like I can take my drum kit in there and camp in there. So
yeah, you could camp in there. That's sweet. I could go tenting, but it's a little chilly for that still here out in Squim at night. So it's like, oh, bummer. I wish I had my camper up, because, like the school is not in session for like 6 weeks. We're still working. I'm working online, and I'm going to start launching. I made a YouTube channel to teach art lessons on, so I'll start launching all of that next week. And we're just hoping that everything blows over and we've stopped this, I guess, spread of COVID-19 to our best ability.
right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think we will persevere. I mean, I think most people are confident that we'll persevere. This is something that We're still learning about it, and the experts are gathering data, and we don't know what we don't know, so that's why we need more people to get tested, and we need data and analytics that we can use to protect society. And we're not really getting a lot of that from our federal government right now.
Right.
There's supposedly only 4,000 or 7,000 cases in the country as of today, and it's that low because we don't have a test.
No, but
whereas in South Korea, people are like having drive-through tests in South Korea. But once this is over, I'll get down off my soapbox. Once the pandemic and the fear of the pandemic has kind of subsided, I think we will know how to adapt.
Right.
We're all washing our hands more than we ever used to. We're all discovering a lot of ways that we don't need to be commuting, and the infrastructure and network technology, VPN technology, and wireless technology. Everybody can make the case to work from home now, and companies will have upgraded their infrastructure. And once we know more about it, and more people have recovered, and I heard something promising today about there's a vaccine being developed in Japan that showed really promising treatment in addition to the one in Germany. We will persevere. We will get by. We will get out of this. The economy will come back. We will be okay. We will be okay.
We will be okay. We just need to hunker down. The same thing happened with SARS happened, and West Niles, and H1N1, and avian flu, mad cow disease, and anthrax, and
I love anthrax.
I'm telling you, it's just everybody just needs to think. And stealing all of the toilet paper and hoarding all of the toilet paper is not really thinking it through. I mean, in order to stop the spread of germs, we all need toilet paper, bros.
Right.
I don't understand the toilet paper thing. I mean,
I don't know.
Have certain recipes for toilet paper cake. I don't really see that it has any nutritional value and could help in any sort of thing whatsoever. Me personally, I'm just gonna buy a crap load of laundry soap, and if time gets hard, I guess I'll just have a lot of tanks.
West whiskey.
There you go. I'm a vodka girl, but hey.
Heck yeah.
And vodka
it is a little different
right now, so I'm pretty stoked.
So I was going to say that COVID-19 is a little bit different because of the spread. We did have those other diseases, but this one's quick. It's something that we don't have
highly contagious.
Right. And we are
more contagious.
More than we ever have been before. Ever. I've never been quarantined before. I'm not quarantined yet, but it's suggested. And I've been dismissed from my job for 6 weeks. So that's a huge impact on our economy.
Being a cancer survivor, I had to go into quarantine during certain periods of the year.
Oh yeah, I bet you did.
And
definitely.
Not have contact with people.
Well, and I was really confused
during my chemo
at first.
I had to
So I was reading about the toilet paper, and it's a psychological switch that happens in some humans. They go instinctively into hoarding because we're nesters. So they feel like they're prepared if they have something that they find essential, even though it's not an essential. Right.
Again.
Yeah.
Let's stick to the essentials. Beer and whiskey.
Exactly. I went and bought another bottle of wine today, and I had already bought a bottle of wine yesterday, but I wanted to stock up.
Because
we just needed coffee. At my house, we have quite a bit of toilet paper because we had bought a bunch online. So we have plenty of food. We have plenty of toilet paper. We have plenty of toilet paper. We have plenty of food.
It's just the most
and we have a bunch of paper towels too. We have a paper towel dispenser in my kitchen.
out of paper towels.
And but the one thing we didn't have is coffee, so I went and
Ooh.
I went and got 3 big cans of coffee the other day, and that's pretty much all we needed.
That's awesome. Yes, we stocked up on coffee too. Got to have our caffeine, man. Come on, like
Definitely.
So this is depressing. Let's talk about music.
Okay, yes. It is, and it's all that everybody's talking about, and it has affected us all individually, especially us in Washington, man. It's crazy. So yeah, I was going to ask you guys, how do you like listening to music? So I prefer vinyl. If I can listen to music anyway, I want is vinyl.
I'm a streamer. I will stream music like YouTube or iHeartRadio or whatever, Apple Music. I'm a streamer.
For me, there's this nostalgic feeling about vinyl. I do like listening on vinyl, but most of the time I'm on the go. So therefore, that's where streaming kicks in. So for me, it's Spotify probably 90% of the time. But
yes,
man, there's nothing like cracking open some vinyl and putting it on the player and cranking it up. There's something about it. But
yes.
for me, I need music like all the time. Like my life needs a soundtrack. So
I'm a streamer as well, and I don't have any, as much as I would like to start building up a vinyl collection. I haven't bought a vinyl record since I was probably a senior in high school. And with the way things are, and I mentioned before that long drought I had without being in a band. I basically had a long drought without buying any new music too. I just wasn't interested anymore.
Oh.
All the new music that started to come out.
Periods where Go ahead.
I mean, like I remember every time I stopped playing in bands, there was this music that was out, like Franz Ferdinand and Snow Patrol and all these bands that I didn't really care about, and I didn't really like where music was going, and everything was getting more techno. And I lost interest in new music. I just simply lost interest in new music, and the stuff that I would hear on KEXP, I didn't care for it. And so what I did, I delved back and I started buying music by bands and musicians that I had always kind of known about, like T-Rex.
Oh,
I quit buying new music. I discovered T-Rex. Like old like glam rock, like Slade, T-Rex, deep into the Bowie catalog. What else? Oh, geez. Like the Trogs. I started listening to the Trogs constantly. The Boomtown Rats. The only thing I ever knew about the Boomtown Rats was like one song. I started listening to the Boomtown Rats like crazy. And I went back over the years and I rediscovered all these recording artists that were kind of old news compared to the Flaming Lips or Ride, but they're like giants. And here and there, I would buy a new record. Like a friend of mine recommended the Black Angels to me, and like, oh my gosh, I love the Black Angels. I love Las Vegas. Over the last 15 years, there were some bands here and there. I pick up a CD that I really, really liked, but I simply quit buying new music, and I relied upon my iPod and streaming to just. I just did not like any new music and didn't have any use for it. So I just stream now, and I'll probably start buying records again, like the Psychedelic Furs. In May, the Psychedelic Furs are going to release their first album in 29 years, and you bet your ass I'm going to go get it the day that it's at Easy Street Records.
Heck yeah. I started collecting records gosh, 2 years ago, because it was something I wasn't going to do. I wasn't going to start vinyl because I didn't want to like have another collection of things. I already collect cars. My husband collects guitars. We have enough things. But we decided after my sister-in-law gifted us a turntable that we would keep our record collection to the concerts that we have seen live.
Nice.
So that's a rule that we have. So it keeps it, like, because I could go crazy with vinyl.
Oh,
But like just the concerts that I've seen, like I've seen a lot of really good live music too. So like being able to have this collection of awesome vinyl is totally worth it, and I love it. And it just feels, I don't know if I'd say nostalgic because I'm from the era of cassette tapes, but like I remember my aunt spinning vinyl, and like she's gonna pass down her vinyl to me when it's time, and yeah, that's how I like
Maxine.
I'll stream. It's the modern way to listen to it, so it's a good way.
Maxine, what was your favorite concert you ever saw?
Oh my God. I've seen some good ones, you guys. Like, let's see. I've seen Tom Petty. I've seen Tool. I've seen Clutch. I've seen Government Mule, like Warren Haynes at the Allman Brothers. His side project, that was amazing. I don't know which one was my favorite. I saw Foo Fighters. That one was insane. Like, insanely good. That's on the top of the list because like Dave Grohl had broken his leg and he had this stone built for him. Like, and I'm a huge Dave.
Oh yeah, the one that he loaned to Axl later on.
Yeah. So it shot fire out of it, and like he still kept tour going even though he had broken his leg. And he was just such a showman too. I saw Black Sabbath at the Gorge in 2013, and Ozzy was amazing. That was a super cool show. I saw Smashing Pumpkins a couple summers ago, and that was probably the most visually stunning show I've ever seen, other than Tool's light show. So like I've
who else
seen
is
some
really
good
good?
bands.
Primus is amazing to see.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Primus, but I bet they are good live. Yeah.
Linkin Park,
I think
they are crazy to see.
for me,
Or were.
for me, I've seen a lot of concerts too. It's like especially when I lived in Minneapolis. You guys have seen Purple Rain, right?
Do you mean like Prince's music video or
The movie? You've seen the movie, right?
No, I haven't seen the movie.
Yes.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, it takes place at this really awesome venue called First Avenue, and that was like it's the old Minneapolis bus station, and that's like where Purple Rain was filmed. That was like the place to see a show. It was amazing. I saw so many cool shows there, and I've been to festivals and I've seen some cool concerts. But I think for me, the one that just still after all these years sticks with me, when I went to college in Florida, and at the band shell I saw 2 concerts at the University of Florida band shell. When I was a junior, The Cult played, and Living Colour was the opening band, and the campus security were being total jerks, and they were pushing people around, and they were trying to cut the concert early. And I remember Ian Asbury saw it all from the stage and started taunting the cops, and they refused to stop playing, and they broke into Love Removal Machine, and there was like a near riot, and all the barriers came down, and all the security got pushed out of the way, and it was this massive mosh pit with like 20,000 people. It was amazing. And then I'll never forget that. And then at that same band shell, like shortly after I'd gotten to college, I think I was a sophomore when I transferred, the Smithereens played, and it started raining about halfway through their show. It started raining like crazy, and they just kept going and going. They did like 7 encores in this torrential downpour.
Wow.
And they were so good, and they just kept rocking so hard. And then after the show, my roommate and I walked back around to the fence, and they came out of the tour bus and said hi to all of us and shook our hands, and they autographed a drum head and gave it to my roommate. And
Ooh.
that, I think, that's going to be the one that I think sticks with me.
Yeah.
Forever is the
Yeah,
best
The one I'm going to
show
say
and
that
I've done
would stick
more.
with me
Mm-hmm.
was I love Devil Driver. The band Devil Driver, they are amazing.
They are
Amazing.
amazing. Mm-hmm.
Des Bafar, the lead singer, he is also the lead singer for Cold Chamber. Well,
They're
he were with
Mhm.
Devil Driver, and they were playing with Guar at Studio 7. And a friend of mine made some art pieces for Des, so we were waiting to like go on the bus. Well, this guy had a letter to Des, and it was about how he was in a coma and woke up and he had to learn how to like walk and talk and sing and stuff. And he was wondering if Des had any tips for, you know, a male singer, like learning how to growl the way he does and being audible, because there's a lot of people that you could just rah, rah, and you have no idea what the hell they're saying. And Des got the note, read it, and then went outside and gave the guy vocal lessons right there on the corner. And
that's cool.
was cool. That was the coolest
That's
thing I've
awesome.
ever seen ever. And he remembered
That is
me from when I met him in California just a couple of years before that too. So that was probably my most memorable. Besides the whole Tacoma Dome thing, but that doesn't really count.
Yeah, that should count. That should count.
When you're an artist at the show, it's a little different.
It is different. It's totally different energy.
Than-
You're right. It is. Yeah.
Like being at a show and like one of I was doing something cool.
Yeah. When you are part of the show,
That is by far my favorite show.
Uh-huh.
I got to see my hero be human to somebody else, you know.
Yeah.
It was inspiring, honestly.
Very inspiring. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it is different when you are the entertainer versus being the entertained. It's nice. But either way, it's fun either way, but it is different.
Yeah, it's totally.
Well, cool. What advice do you guys have for fellow musicians or for musicians just
Playing
starting?
big names, playing with big.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The question was, what advice do you have for
Yes.
musicians and for musicians just starting out?
Oh, wow. I would say for musicians just starting out, just realize up front, most of the gigs are going to be crappy. There's not going to be anybody there, and you're not going to get paid. You know, you're the world. Yeah, you're probably not going to change the world, and you are going to be putting about 97% into your effort, and you're going to get about 3% back.
Yeah.
And do it until that's not enough for you anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Do it for the fun. Yeah. That's
Like I said, I referred to the pilot light earlier. I was 31 years old, and I was just so sick of fighting constant. Yeah, and that's another bit of advice I would give is if you're fighting with your band members constantly, it's not worth it. You don't need to do it. I know that you will say to yourself, I'll go crazy if I'm not in a band, but those are skills about life that you have to carry over into your personal relationships and for your side hustle of your regular job making money. You have to learn how to get along with people, and you have to recognize when it's not worth the effort anymore and you're angry and miserable all the time. You need to move on and you need to do something else. And I remember I was 31 years old, and every band I had ever been in just imploded into this ball of anger. And it was just like the little pilot light in the back of my head, it just went out, and I didn't want to play music anymore. And I stopped playing for 17, 18 years. You have to recognize when it's not healthy for you anymore.
For me, back in mid '90s, I was in a band that was kind of chasing the dream, and you're playing crappy gigs for no money. You're doing everything you can to get your name out there. You're scraping together every penny you can to go in the studio and record an album. You put it out, you're hoping somebody buys it, you're hoping a label takes interest, you're hoping that it goes somewhere, right?
Right.
And, sometimes it gets to a point that you realize that maybe you're playing for the wrong reasons. You get to where you're just all about making it instead of making music and making yourself happy.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
There's some truth to the starving artist. We do starve for our craft. It's a different kind of culture and a different kind of personality that I think can sustain this this creating art. And I think for people starting out, young bands, the most important thing is just play, and play what makes you feel good. Play what you're passionate about. Don't try to be the next Tool. Don't try to be the next Police or whatever you're into. Don't try to be the next something that's already been. Just try and be you.
Yeah, just be you.
And I think that's what's great about even with the Peregrine Dives. John explains our genre a little bit, kind of where we feel like we fit in, but I think we still we have these common interests, these bands and these influences that are common to us, but then we all have these other little branches amongst ourselves that are these different influences that we each bring to the table, and hopefully that creates something that's somewhat unique. It's kind of like, I always use Zeppelin as an example. You got a Motown drummer, you got a rock guitar player, you got a blues singer.
Oh my God!
And without those elements of these influences coming together, you never would have had probably one of the greatest bands to grace the globe.
Right.
So, my back to my point is, these new bands, these young musicians, play what you're passionate about.
Heck yeah.
And just freaking play as much as you can. Just get out there and make music.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
I'd like to add one other thing that only occurred to me when I started playing music again. When I was younger, being in a band and being at a show, and always feeling like you have to have your game face on, always feeling like you're going to have to psych out the other band. You got to be the best band there. I've been now. I won't get into it, but I've been through a lot, and I have absolutely no use for that anymore, and I won't even try to be the shallow, misguided musician that I was when I was in my 20s and early 30s. There's just not enough time left for any of us on this earth to be acting that way towards any other band or any other musician. Don't treat your people in the music community, your fellow musicians in the music community, don't try to treat them like they're beneath you, or you're cooler than them, or you're better than them, or you're going to psych them out.
Yes.
You need to be making as many friends and allies as you can everywhere, and not pissing people off.
Preach. Yes. And that's what we're about. We're about making those connections so that we have that community. Like, we need each other. Yeah, exactly. We're in this together.
Yeah. Music is not a sport, people. Okay? And I always hate the battle of the bands, because it's music. it's not a gladiator sport, you know. And like John said, don't set out to be the best band. Set out to be the best band you can be. You don't have to be the best band on the bill, or you know, that shouldn't be your objective. Again, it's not a sport. It's not a competition. You know,
I feel like as long as you're having fun playing music and playing music that you actually enjoy playing, that's the entire idea of the whole thing.
It's therapy. It's therapy for the artist. It's therapy for the listener.
Agreed.
Just create something that you feel passionate about, that you feel proud of, and other people will like that too. And another thing, I maybe I'm getting on a soapbox here, but you know, another thing for young musicians and young bands, you know, don't get caught up in this band's better than me, that band's better, whatever. You know, just keep going along, keep playing, keep getting better, keep trying to improve, and be inspired, and put something out there again that you feel proud of. And you're gonna, trust me, you're gonna look back 20 years later and you're gonna go, what was I thinking? You know, but you know, if you're true to yourself, you can look back 20 years later and go, well, this is what was going on then. This is where my life was, and this is what I was going through. This is what I felt, and this is, you know, I helped people through some similar difficult times. Yeah. And don't get caught up in, I had a bad review, or
right,
somebody doesn't like our band.
Yeah, so, it's gonna happen.
How many bands are out there? I don't like most of them, but the ones I like, I really like, you know, and I promote them, and I go out and I see their shows, and I buy their merch, and I listen to their music. It's a law of averages. Don't get caught up if someone doesn't like me, because you don't like most bands either.
Right.
But the few that you do, you really like.
I do like a lot.
I do like a lot of bands.
They evoke something. So. Yeah, don't read the reviews. It's the old cliche.
Right. Don't read the comments, man. Some are good. Like, don't get me wrong, some are good, but oof. Don't pay attention to.
And remember,
don't get.
We're a small community too.
It's don't get caught up in the negative stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the
and
positive
we're a small
stuff,
community too, and any musician out there, anybody out there that are going to cop some attitude with other bands, you'll get noticed. That's another piece of advice: is if you cop attitude with another band, or you cop attitude with some sound guy or a venue owner, you know, it could follow you around, and gigs can be hard to get. And we're a small community, and if you cop attitude with somebody, you might not get asked back to play. And if you cop attitude with band members, your band's not going to last forever, and you could run into those people. You know, if you need a new member later on, you could run into those people, and they'll remember how you treated them.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we have a few minutes left.
Is there anything that you'd like to add before we sign out? Any shout outs to anybody?
Yes.
I guess I'd like to say hi to our friends in Grim Statistic, Ryan and Jeff and Rich.
Cool.
I very much hope our show at Drunky Two Shoes and White Center gets rescheduled soon, and we'd like to see everybody at Drunkies and White Center, and I hope we play at the Skylark in West Seattle soon. And we have our Facebook page, just the Peregrine Guides on Facebook, and we have a Twitter account. We're going to start paying more attention to them, and we have a web page, theperegrinidives.com. It has 4 short samples on it from our SoundCloud page. We have a SoundCloud page, and we have a YouTube channel that has some good videos that Mark edited. And we're going to start putting some other stuff on our YouTube channel, like just, maybe showing us writing songs, or maybe Josh or me, or, just practicing a solo thing and some fun things and maybe some commentary and things like that. But you can find us all over the web, peregrinedives.com, on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube and SoundCloud.
Nice.
Awesome.
That is awesome. Thanks for sharing. Do you guys have merch that you sell?
I was just going to ask them that.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Gotcha.
We're working on that. Hopefully we'll have some merch here in the next couple months.
Cool.
If you guys get band patches, definitely let me know, because I have a jean jacket that was my dad's, who I inherited after he passed away, that I like to put local band patches on.
Cool.
Just, because I like to.
I promise you.
In this, so.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll let you know for sure.
Definitely, please do.
Well, and keep us in the loop on future endeavors you have going on when all of this dust settles and you guys are out there playing live shows. Definitely.
We will always promote your shows, so just please let us know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool.
Right on.
So another quick shout out. My boy Roger Nottestad back in Tulsa, Oklahoma, owner of the drum shop. Some things have kind of gone awry, and like the coolest freaking drum store on the planet is closing its doors. Thank you, Amazon. Hey, Roger, we love you, man. Still looking forward to the graphics for the drum head, and hang in there, buddy.
Yeah, shout out.
Speaking of Rogers, just to let you guys know, Roger Capps, who was the original bass player, was tuning in to the show tonight. So.
Oh, yay! Hi, Roger Cap.
Hi, Roger.
Hey, Roger.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and yes. So yeah, that's.
I read Pat Benatar's book. It was pretty good.
Sweet. I bet it was good.
Oh yeah.
That's gonna be interesting.
It has to be, yeah.
It was nice to have those guys tune in and just kind of give us all a thumbs up, Still supportive of the music. Still playing. Yeah. He's still jamming out too, man. He's amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for, being on the show and telling us your stories.
Yeah.
And I definitely cannot wait to come to one of your guys' show, or possibly playing another show with you guys in the future. Hopefully, maybe with my good friends, the Maxwells. Hint.
Well, I'll tell you what, you guys, like I mentioned, we're gonna. I'm trying to focus many of our gigs up north where our guitar player and bass player live. So we'll definitely keep you guys in mind.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, let's do a show together, you guys. That'd be fun.
That'd be very fun.
Okay, cool.
We'll talk drone.
All right, everybody, it's time to wrap up for the evening. So thank you, the Peregrine Dives, for hanging out with us tonight. It was absolutely a big pleasure. And let us know if you guys are interested in being part of our virtual show, one of our virtual shows.
Awesome.
We would love to have you.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Cool. That's awesome.
All right, Maxine, you want to take us out?
Absolutely. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Good night. See you next week.
Bye. Thank you.
Good morning.